Hi there everyone, it is currently the 19th of September 2011 and a very active day out here in the Western Pacific today. We actually have two typhoons out here right now. Sanka here towards the right, that is moving quickly off towards the east here, starting to get wrapped up in an upper level trough off here towards the north, going to be going extratropical. No impacts with any landmass with this system expected as it runs off, but the main topic of discussion is Typhoon Roke. Now Typhoon Roke is just east of Amane-jima here. It is slowly drifting off towards the north right now, but is expected to start accelerating in speed and starting to go quickly off towards the northeast, making another landfall just east of the Kii Peninsula along Honshu here over the next 48 hours. But right now it has developed and intensified rather quickly in the last about 12 to 24 hours. East of Amane here, it is currently packing winds at about 65, gusting up to 95 knots. That's per GMA. JTWC actually holds a slightly strong with 70 gusting up to 85 knots. Center pressure of 975 HPA. So the deepening system right now, it does have a clear and defined eye wall on the radar imagery shown here. Now this eye wall is very intense at this time. It does have those higher winds located just in this region right here, just off the east coast of the island here. Actually, this island is reporting winds upwards of 23 meters per second at this time as well, or 44 knots or 82 kilometers per hour. So there are tropical storm force winds across this region right now. Therefore, JMA has issued a lot of high wind warnings out here to include high waves and also ground loosening rains across much of those Ryuku Islands, and even extending up here towards Kyushu and parts of Shikoku, also having those warnings right now as well. So some very intense and heavy rains are coming with this system as it starts to drift off towards the north, but also you're starting to see those winds pick up. And this is another look at Roke here, microwave imagery over the past 24 hours, and I like to just look at this because it shows that rapid intensification of it, starting off here with no really lack of a distinct eye, but now as it moves off towards the north and in the last few hours you really start to see a distinct eye wall. A lot of these areas indicated in red showing those higher areas of convection as they start wrap around the center of circulation as well. So overall that's just showing that intensity increase. Therefore both of these agencies have upgraded the storm to a typhoon. Therefore, albeit it is a typhoon at this time, but everybody wants to know where is this going to go and how is it going to affect the mainland. Well, right now it is drifting off towards the north, and then it is expected to make a sharp curve towards the northeast as this very strong area of low pressure, trough of low pressure, starts to interact with Roke. And this is going to kind of act like a wall, keep it towards the southeast of that low, but also it's going to cause it to go extratropical by filtering in some dry air and also causing it to basically become more baroclinic as that upper level trough starts to interact with it. What that means is that a lot of the higher winds are going to separate from the center of circulation, go to the outer periphery, but also cause some weakness near that center of circulation, those winds to die down a little bit. Also, looking at some fronts possibly could develop with this over the next 48 hours. You can actually start to see that developing here towards the south as you have that dry air rushing in from the north, kind of pushing off and having that little banding here towards the south. That's where a cold front would develop once this pushes off towards the northeast, but also a little warm front developing here just along the eastern periphery. But as for now, it is definitely still a warm core low, definitely still going to pack a lot of high winds here to Shikoku and near the Kii Peninsula as it drifts off towards the north there. And it goes without saying that rains will definitely be an issue. We all know that Shikoku and the Kii Peninsula did see those heavy rains from Talas, and also just over the weekend it saw some heavy rains from this storm as it's been down there lingering for a few days now. All that rain came from the outflow of the storm that kind of hit this area, but the reason why this is going to track up that way though is due to that trough of low pressure also following behind Typhoon Sanka up here towards the northeast. It's going to want to run behind that trough of low pressure, staying south of this area of high pressure over the Korean peninsula. Therefore, that quick running up there. And another thing I do want to note, once it hits that trough, it is going to exceptionally accelerate and speed up towards of 20 to 30 knots forward motion on this system. Now, one of the reasons I mentioned of this going extratropical, though, is the fact that the exact landfall will likely be around the Kii Peninsula here, maybe just off towards the northeast. But the real reason is because this exact landfall is not going to matter so much with this system if it does go extratropical, as I think it will, as quickly as it will. It's because a lot of that rainfall and a lot of that wind intensity is going to be away from the center of circulation. As you can see indicated here at landfall, you have that precipitation extending all the way up here towards the north, towards the Sendai region, and even that frontal boundary extending all the way down here towards the south. So all these areas can looking at pack high winds, and throughout much of Japan, you could see tropical storm force winds actually extending all the way across the country. So the exact center of circulation is going to see those high winds, but there's still going to be those heavy precipitation up and down the Japanese Alps here. Therefore, you could see some flooding across the entire region, even down here towards the tsunami affected areas. You could see some heavy rains as well. But here I do want to end with JTWC's track or outlook on this system. They do expect it to increase in intensity slightly up to about 70, gusting up to 85 knots max, actually where it is at right now. But then as it goes extratropical, you will see a rapid weakening with this system. That is the winds near the center of circulation. I do want to strongly stress that. Still going to see high winds across much of Japan as it runs across much of the island of Honshu here and off towards the northeast here. Also, rain is going to be a big problem as well. The one good news is that it is going to be accelerating really quickly off towards the northeast here. It could be upwards of 20 to 30 knots. So as it gets wrapped up in that trough, you definitely will see those rains pass by, but those highest winds shouldn't be sustained too long, especially for areas up here farther towards the north, particularly up here towards Tokyo and farther up towards those tsunami-stricken areas. But that is all for right now, everyone. Thanks again for listening to WesternPacificWeather.com here. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please let me know. And especially those suggestions. If there's anything that you think that could improve on these video updates, I would definitely like to hear it. I always like to get that good feedback coming back for the constructive criticism on these. So thanks again for watching, everyone. Stay safe out there, and as always, continue to check your local warnings, and also continue to check those agencies of JMA and JTWC for any official warnings that are put out on these systems. But all right. Have a good night.